guys, well, welcome back to the Fulton Line. It's been a while, it really has. We grabbed the camera, kind of show you what's changed, not really much. Kind of been working on some scratch built stuff, and let me show you around. Well, most of my focus has actually been in this area of the layout. As you can see, I have constructed a sign-based building, and it's going to be sheathed with some styrene product. That's siding, metal siding, and of course 3 roll-up doors. Also on this end is kind of the manufacturing. This would be the warehouse. This would be the manufacturing portion of this facility, and there will be a grain silo, although we're not lifting grain, but this is a bucket elevator, and it'll sit somewhere in here, and the hopper cars will drop their load through the track through this opening here, and then the bucket elevator will carry it up. There'll be 2 pipes that go to both of these silos here, and there'll be 2 more back here as well. But let me show you why this is set up the way it is. If you'll remember, underneath of this layer is staging tracks, and it actually goes into the closet and goes back out of the closet underneath this level. Then it goes back underneath all the way back around the room, back into the closet below the helix, and there's a return loop that will carry the trains back around so that we can park them in staging. So in order for me to have carried the grade down, the track grade down, I needed to cover or leave some access for this to work. So there's actually an opening where this track is, back underneath here. So this building serves to hide this area. Same thing with this foam right here that is actually a landscaped knoll at the end of the building. Now, part of the problem with this setup is this building. Because of these silos, the 4 silos, this is going to have a shed roof that'll go around them. So this entire assembly will have to lift out for me to clean the track or gain access to the tracks that are below. Now, this is not totally assembled. As you can see, the stand for the silos is loose. Therefore, these are loose. And I'll give you some details on this in a minute. But what I wanted was to be able to, once this facility, this building and assembly is finished, is to be able to remove it safely in one piece. So imagine everything is glued down, and I'll give you a tip in a minute, something I learned from Ken Patterson that I want to share with you. Once this is fully assembled, this will lift out as one entire unit. Okay? The silos, the bucket elevators, because there's 2 bucket elevators and 4 silos. Now, one of the things that Ken Patterson shared on one of his What's Neat this week is, he really didn't share it, but it's something that I noticed. On the base of all of his buildings, instead of having this flimsy piece of styrene, he actually glues a piece of plexiglass onto the bottom. Now this will be a curbing, so to speak, for this facility, but underneath it we can attach a piece of plexiglass that will give it some rigidity. Then what you would do is you would carve out the area that the plexiglass is going to take up, and you can sink that down and get the elevation back to where you need it to be. Now, we could actually cut the plexiglass, and not even use this piece and just use a piece of plexiglass, but I'll probably hold the plexiglass back a little bit so that if my carving's not quite correct on the styrene here, I'm sorry, on the foam, then that edge, that factory sign edge, because that's all this is a sign from Home Depot, and that sign will cover some of that imperfection there. Okay, for the warehouse that I showed you, the Owens, the Stevens/Owens Corning facility, warehouse slash factory, I'm making these silos, and the top here is just wire that is soldered together. I think this is just copper wire here that I straightened as best I could and then soldered it. It's very tedious. Here's another example. This is actually MIG wire, 025 MIG wire, and then this is a small piece of styrene that I glued around it to give you kind of a kick, a toe kick. But I've found something better than that. Actually, I tried 025 styrene, and this just is really hard to glue together. It's just such a small gluing surface. So one of the things that I found is from Tichy Train Group. These are actually catwalks, open grate catwalks and handrails, and here it is out of the packet. This stuff, as you can see, this is actually etched or whatever. It's open grating. The detail and how fine this is something else. I mean, that is some fine, very fine lines there. And then the handrails, I don't know if you can see it in this video, but there's rivets and whatnot. So what I'm going to try and do, they actually sell these handrails in just two handrails or 6 inches, two 6-inch pieces. And what I'm going to try and do is wrap this. As you can see, this is these handrails just really don't match up to that too well. So what I'll wind up doing is heating this, tape it down and heat it, and see if I can't form it, you know, in a circle like this. The problem is going to be I'm not going to have the exact length. So I'm going to try that and see. I may go back to this method. I'm not sure. But these are the silos. I call them lime silos because where I work, that's kind of what I've taken pictures of these and the equipment that are that's on the top of them and whatnot. But in this situation, it's going to be a little different. But all this is a piece of PVC pipe. I believe it's schedule 40. It says 330 psi. So I could probably get a thinner piece of pipe, but these stanchions are actually drilled into this, so I could actually pull this out if I had to. And the reason I did that was in case this was this was not tall enough, or too tall, I should say, and I could trim it down and then put it back on as an assembly. So that's one aspect, is the handrails, and I think they look pretty good for the first attempt. Like I said, this is MIG wire. It's 025 MIG wire. Of course, with my Volkswagen stuff, I have a welder. It is very fragile, though, as you can see. This is MIG wire as well, and I've gone through several different design changes on this whole facility and how I wanted to connect a catwalk between. At one time I was going to do a catwalk across the top between, so you'd have a ladder going up one silo, and then once you got to the top you could walk across the catwalk to the other silo in the air. But I have since gonna put in this bucket elevator, I'm actually going to put a ladder up the bucket elevator and both silos. I keep calling them lime silos, but each silo. So the next product that I got was from Plastruct. This is actually their ladder and cage set, and this is it snapped together. And this is actually 1/100th scale, so it's probably a little small. I don't know why they did that actually, but anyways, it looks pretty good. If you lay it up against the side of this, that's kind of the way it will look, glued on there. Of course, this will be cut down to size. Okay, so it comes with 2 ladders and a cage. So that's something that's going to be incorporated in this as scratch build. Now, as far as at the bottom, the lime silo, I keep calling them lime silos. The silo actually has the tank probably comes down to, I don't know, maybe 20 feet, 15 feet off the ground inside. And there's usually 2 feeders inside of these. At least at work we have 2 lime feeders, and of course you need doors to access that. So I had made up this styrene little box. I mean, it's just glued to the surface, and a tip that Vinny gave everyone in the modeling world is that you can use handicap parking signs for sale signs from Home Depot, and it's the same. This stuff glues really well. And I would suggest using, instead of buying a sheet that's $5.95 or $6.95, that's you know, an 8.5 by 11 sheet basically. That's the same price of a 18 by 24 sign, and you can use the back of it where it has no printing on it. Just make sure you buy one that's just single-sided, and you don't have anything to worry about. Here's a piece that this is actually the catch basin that's going to be below the tracks on that facility, and it's made out of one of the signs, and the signs are different thicknesses too. So here is an actual like yard sale for sale sign, and it's probably, I don't know, that's probably 40 thousandths maybe. Might not be that thick, 30 thousandths. And then they have some thicker pieces. This one's probably 60 thousandths thick, and of course it has painting on it. This is the same thickness here. It's made cut from the same sign, but that's just different angles. There would be a screw lift at the bottom of this that would carry product that dumps in from the hopper car into a screw lift that would carry it up, dump it, and as the buckets come by, they kind of dig it, carry it to the top, dump it out, and then it just gravity falls through the tubes in the top of the down into the silo. So one of the other things that I purchased, and all this came from Hobby Link too, by the way, and they just happened to be here in Georgia. I did not know that. This is Pike Stuff. This is their double door with windows kit. The double doors without windows are a different design. So that is the double door with windows, and it comes 2 of those. They're like $2.95. And here's one that's out of the package. Of course, it has a little flashing on there, but it has some good detail. And what's really cool is I measured pretty close. So I will redesign this box. I'll just basically, instead of having this on the front, I'll actually just build a frame and glue it around this, and that's exactly how large the door will be going in. So that is a double door from Pike Stuff with the windows in it. Okay, so that's pretty cool. The next thing, of course, they have single doors as well. And this will be in the building, the manufacturing building. I'll use these going in and out. I didn't open that one, but it has the same quality as the double door. The double man walk-through door. And then I found some louvers on there too. There's 3 to a package, and here that is, and it's very detailed. So if you have an exhaust fan or an intake or something like that where you want to get air into the building, there'll be a couple of these on the warehouse portion, and maybe even one on the silo. I don't know. The units we have at work, the silos we have at work, have an exhaust fan on them. Lime is very dusty, so, and once it gets wet, it sticks to everything. So as far as dock doors go, here's a roll-up loading door. It's a 9.5 by 12, and there's 2 to a pack. And here this is like a roll-up door. The actual aluminum this kind of just rolls up into a big roll inside. And I think this is more for a transfer truck. You know, a transfer truck would back up to it and it would pretty much seal around it. So I'm not sure if I'm going to use this on the warehouse building or the next one I'm about to show you. But it's good quality. Again, flash, a little flash on the bottom. The next one is this 12 by 12 door, and this is a freight door. So somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but I think this should be probably on the warehouse where the box cars will pull up, because it's just wider and it kind of matches the size of the door on some of the box cars that I have. But here's that unit out of the bag. Has 3 windows in it. They're kind of low, I think. Looks to be maybe, yeah, they're about 5 feet to the center, so maybe not. It just looked kind of low. Flash on it again, has a little raise handle there. So that again is from Pike stuff. And then I'm building this grain silo. This bucket elevator from scratch. All of it is styrene. The head here, you know, there'll be a motor at the top, and the buckets are just on a big wide belt, and they're just bolted to that. And of course the bucket is shaped this way, and it goes to the top. It flips over the top and it throws the product that it's carrying down this chute. And of course the bucket is now upside down. It goes back to the bottom, goes around another roller, scoops up another load of product and carries it to the top. And it's a very long belt. So if this one is going to be about 75 feet tall, so your belt's going to be double that in length and maybe a little longer to take up for the rollers at the top and the bottom. And the buckets are usually a foot apart. And I've worked on bucket elevators before, having to bolt new buckets to the belt, and it's quite a chore. But again, this is all, some of it is sign styrene. The top here is all sign styrene. This is styrene that I purchased from by Evergreen. I think it's 3/16 by 1/4. I know it's a 1/4 inch wide. It may be 3/16 thick. And then of course there's angle that's holding it together, but this is meant to simulate 10-foot sections that you would bolt together that would make up this entire length. So then I have some tape here just holding it together, and then some old ties that I glued together as a spacer just to mock it up and make sure it's nice and straight. But getting back to this head, this is actually some of that thinner sign material. I think this is the 30,000th thick on each side, and the top, as you can see that, the bottom here in this plate. This is actually just a hole punch that I punched out and glued it on the end. But I cut this out, glued the 2 sides together, cut those out together, sanded them, got the correct shape so that both sides would mirror one another. And then I took some ties, some of those spare wood ties that you see in here, and glued 2 pieces, one straight across and one vertically, to both sides, and then glued that together. So that gave me the thickness, and then I just simply glued this and rolled it around to that, and then sanded. Once we got all the sides glued on. I just laid it on a piece of sandpaper and sanded everything nice and smooth to give it, you know, the lip look to it. And so once this gets painted up, I think it looks pretty good. You know, there's not much. There's a lot of different designs for these. I've looked at different pictures online, and according to what manufacturer made it and whatnot, it will, you know, they vary. So, and I'll probably put a ladder and then a catwalk around the top, because there will be a motor of some kind either on this side or the other side, you know, that actually drives this whole assembly. And then of course I took some spare sprue here, and that's just simply going to be the divider to send the pipes down at the correct angle. This will have to be adjusted and finished so that the angles are right to get the drop tube into the top of the silo. So I actually plan on recording the scratch build of the building. I have some brick siding to put on the factory portion of the building, and there'll be an awning that will go around the silos, and I think I'll mock that back up and then show you what it looks like. Okay, let's see if we can reassemble all of this. The building just basically sits like that. You have to remember, this is a sign now, and there's some gussets in here, some corner bracing. See, that one's cut kind of short for some clearance of the train coming through, because the train sticks up, you know, kind of high. All right, and these are just supports. You'll see when I put the silos in here. Here we have just a centering piece. Of course, reference lines drawn on there. And this portion of the building back here will be brick all the way to the parapet wall on the top. And I'll probably put in like a single walk-through door down here, maybe a double door in the middle, maybe a roll-up door in the middle, another walk-through door at this end as well. So then we put our silos in. Okay, and these will be attached here. So you can see I'm trying to make this rigid so it's one assembly. When we remove it to gain access to the track, nothing will, you know, I won't have to do this every time, because you'll see in a minute that there's obviously this, the bucket elevator will be here, and it sticks up good ways. This is 20, it's another 20 feet taller. It's off the screen there. That's almost the top right here. Okay, so that will be on there as well. The other aspect of this is these are going to protrude. Let me get this right. This will protrude through the roof. So this will be a ribbed roof that will be on here, and it will go from this corner all the way out to here. And the reason that is so that you pull a car in and they can actually kind of be out of the rain. Now, keep in mind that the bucket elevator will protrude through this too, so that's kind of a new aspect to this whole design here. At first I was going to use the vacuum tubes that go out, and put an aspirator at the top of the silo, and you know, these things are pressurized. It actually injects air at the bottom and then vacuum on the tank, and they or the silo, and it pulls the product out of the hopper into the silo. So I like the bucket elevator idea myself. I just think it looks really cool. There'll be one back here as well. But assembling this is going to be, and then finally painting it and weathering it, it's going to have to be done in stages, because the roof will have to go on, and then all of the catwalks and the ladders and all of that stuff will have to be added later, because it will have another ladder probably in the middle, something like that, going up to the roof that will come through the roof, and they'll gain access to the roof, and then there'll be a catwalk that's between them here that will come out to the bucket elevator, and it also will tee off so that they can get on the ladders going up each to the top of each silo if they need to get up to the top. So, big project. I think it will look really cool and really nice. Some of the other work that has been done to the Fulton Line is I've painted these turnouts here. I really don't like this color because looking at actual prototype photos of the Fulton yard, the ties are really, there's a heavy amount of gravel in the yard. So much so that you can't really see the ties. It's not concrete, but it's almost like a crush and run, and a very thick layer of ballast. And so really the sides of the rails don't look rusted. When it rains, the granite dust, if you will, splashes up on the sides of the rails. So really this is gray, but this is nothing more than folk art acrylic paints that I brushed on using a mixture of different colors. And eventually, like I said, I'll probably paint this a different color. The tracks are all painted to about right here, all four of these. But this is this would be kind of the northwest end of the Fulton yard. So really, that's all of the changes, or the things that I have been working on. You probably see this guy in the background here. I do play bass guitar, and the band that I was in at one time, unfortunately their bass player passed away in February of 2015, and they were to the point where they were playing out and they needed a bass player, and they were gracious enough to call me back, and it's been a lot of fun. I really love those guys and enjoy playing original music with them, and I missed it. I didn't realize I was gone. I didn't play for 3 solid years, and I started this hobby again, and now last year I was really trying to advance my technique and playing ability, and so I really focused on that pretty much every day, playing, practicing 2 or 3 hours a night and working on some things and learning some new bass techniques. But I want to split my time up this year doing the model railroading, and of course playing and continuing to expand my bass technique and playing. So thanks for watching, and come back to the Fulton Line again. Thanks.